Hi, it's Sarah again. So this is the next step in my life. So in the last video I was sharing about the detrimental effects of relationships and how I had separated I was due to get married at 21 and how I walked out on that just 12 weeks before. I get my responsibility for letting this particular person into my world. There was a lot of home stuff going on. That's when my parents split up. That's when, I was probably at my most vulnerable and I allowed him in. I'm responsible for that because at that stage I wasn't strong enough. So again, parents, if you can see this going on with your kids where their self-confidence is lacking, pay attention and help them shift through it sooner rather than later. That way they won't go through that stuff. Now at 24 I think it was, I was living in Sydney by that stage. I bought my first house at 21, by the way. We'd bought a house together and then using my money from my grandparents for my 21st birthday, and then I had to buy him out. Funnily enough, somebody got on well there. Anyway, at 24, I had my house on where I grew up, and I was living in Sydney, so I had tenants in that, and I was living in Sydney. And I went and did the first personal development course that ever entered my sphere. Now, how did I get into this? Well, I was a real estate property manager at this stage, and my boss could just see that if I didn't get my emotions in check, then I was always going to be fighting with myself and who I am and what I'm worth and all the stuff that comes with that. I am so grateful for her because she started me on this journey, and this journey has been very long because I was only 24 when that started. And so I went to this course and I faced a couple of my demons there. What I also noticed was what others were going through, and there was people older than me, they were probably in their 40s, which is about what I'm at now, going through stuff, and I went, wow. Anyway, I got to see that I was worth stuff, and I got to let go of some things that really weren't benefiting me. And that was good because then I met what is now my husband. Now, had I not done that, I wouldn't have changed my beliefs enough for me to be able to accept this beautiful human being into my life and into my world, because I wouldn't have felt that I deserved it. So things were pretty good there for a while, and we went and lived in London. Still, the up and down roller coaster of my hormone cycle was pretty massive. And what we put it down to, though, was the seasonal affective disorder that you end up with, or you can end up with in London in the winter months, because, I would leave for work and it was dark, and I'd come home from work and it was dark, and there was very little sunshine, and of course, when you're indoors, you don't get any of that beautiful vitamin D. So life in London was great, and it was definitely an interesting journey, but again, filled with these ups and downs, and the insecurity of who I was. Excuse me. Oh, pardon me. I then fell pregnant with my first baby, and we nearly lost her 3 times in the first 3 months. That was pretty scary. And within that, within the first, I rang a girlfriend because she was back here in Australia, because I knew she must have been just about due to have her baby, and I was leaving this message on her answering machine, and she picked up, and she told me how she'd lost her baby at birth, which just gutted me. 4 days after that, I found out I was pregnant. So with the belief that, I had just taken on board from my girlfriend's news, I was desperate to get home so my baby could be born in Australia and my delightful, loving, kind, generous aunt, who is a midwife, could be with me. Because there's those emotions going on again and the hormones, and I think if I look back now, I was probably a little bit cycling into the depression even then. So we came back to Australia and it was really hard to settle. She was born and lo and behold, I got depression. Now, one of the things that, well, there was a couple of things that were said to me, and I get that it wasn't meant the way it came out. But you know what? Depression is not something that I chose, and depression is not something that others choose. It is absolutely out of our control. And telling us to get over it doesn't work. There's a lot of beliefs that deal with the depression. So, you know, what would be really helpful is to ask somebody how they can help or how you can help them. And if that means that you support them in going and getting coaching to find those beliefs, shift those beliefs and make those beliefs different, then do that. But please don't tell them to get over it, because that doesn't work. I was also, at the time, we didn't have anywhere to live because we'd come back to the country. Husband had found very hard to find a job here. I was looking like I was 15 months pregnant, and really I was only 6 months pregnant, and I wasn't living back in Sydney, so there was not even a hope to go and do any temping roles. So I had lost my ability to generate an income. Bear in mind, I'd been working since I was 13 and 9 months. I had disconnected from anybody that I knew from school, because that's where I was living back up where I grew up. My husband was travelling pretty much daily down to Sydney, and midweek he would probably, you know, when the baby was born, he was staying down in Sydney, so I was left to my own devices. But what was really unhelpful was when it was said that if she can't cope now when she's living here, how will she ever cope when she's on her own? But you know what, when you're living with somebody else and you've got all these external things going on, it's not a matter of coping. It's a matter of looking at what is extraordinary situations that most women don't have to go through. On top of my chemical imbalance, which of course I didn't choose, and being a little bit gentler and kinder to those people. So if it looks like somebody isn't managing when they've got a new baby, don't make them feel worse. Help them. Encourage them. Empower them. You know, celebrate the little things. And the littlest thing, what seemed like a little thing to others when I was sick, was massive for me. To get out of bed, deal with the baby, and have a shower was a freaking miracle. Just something to think about. Please treat these new mums or anybody with depression with some love and generosity and compassion, because your love and generosity, compassion could be the one thing that keeps them here on this earth. Because let me tell you, when you're in that space, it does actually feel like it's a better option to not be here. I'll leave you with that.